Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about CPCTC. It's part of the proof and toward the ending of the proof. CPCTC represent the corresponding part of congruent triangle or congruent. If two triangles are congruent, then their corresponding parts are also congruent. So let's watch the video here. What is CPCTC and when do you use CPCTC in proof? How do we apply CPCTC in proof? So watch this video.
One of the most annoying things in geometry is this thing about CPCTC, because it's impossible to memorize that acronym unless you're a nerdy math teacher. But basically what it stands for is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent, right? That's pretty annoying. But basically this is what they're talking about. If you have two triangles, whatever, this one here and this one here, and you painstakingly earlier proved that they're congruent by whatever means. Maybe you said, I'm going to call this A, B, C, and let's call this D, E, F, right? And you prove somehow, maybe you did side, angle, side, like this, and you prove they're congruent. Oh, after an hour of work, turns out these are congruent by side, angle, side, right? That's another video. We'll talk about how to prove triangles congruent. But after they're congruent, once you know that, and that is a fact, then every single corresponding part is also congruent, which, by the way, it's kind of common sense, to be honest. You probably would have guessed that, but that's what this whole annoying CPCTC stands for. So A looks like, to me, corresponds to D probably, right? If I looked at him, he totally matches up with this guy here. Then, because of CPCTC, we know A is congruent, angle A is congruent to angle D. And every other corresponding part, right? I don't even need to list them all. Obviously, C would be congruent to who? Over here, oh, wow, F. They're in the same position. They're corresponding parts. So C is congruent to F. We already said B and E, so that's not that cool. We already said these sides, but what about the remaining side? AC is obviously congruent to DF because they are corresponding sides. Corresponding just is a nerdy way to say they're in the same place, right? This CPCTC cannot happen until after you've already proven the triangle's congruent. But once you know they are, then you're done, right? I mean, it's kind of like saying my friends Bill and Joe are twins. That means Bill's left hand is the same as Joe's left hand. Bill's left foot is the same as Joe's left foot, right? They're corresponding parts, which, in biology, that's totally not accurate, but it's a good metaphor. So that's it. CPCTC is cool, and it's used in proofs a lot. Basically you prove triangles are congruent, and then after that, you use CPCTC to prove any other part, and that's it. And
Welcome back. So very important. Before you use CPCTC, you must prove or know that the two triangles are congruent by using the 5 triangle congruency criteria: side, 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 angle, 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 and HL. We need to use this 5 triangle congruency criteria first in order to use CPCTC. So let's begin writing the complete proof. And how do we use CPCTC? First, we'll have to label the triangle. Giving DE is equal to DG. DE and DG is here. And next one we have EF and GF. EF and GF are congruent. To prove that DF is the angle bisector of angle EDG, saying that angle DF is the angle bisector. So angle bisector is cutting the angle in half. Cutting what angle? Is cutting EDG. So EDG. So that means cutting this angle in half. That those two angles should be congruent. Now we know two sides already. We always begin with the giving information. So first one, DE is congruent with DG. That is the side. You can write side into the parenthesis. That's optional. That is giving information. You see given DE congruent with DG. So given. Next one, a lot of giving information. EF is congruent with GF. So that is size again. You can see up here, these two sides are congruent, EF and FG. And again, that is giving information. So number three, now we have two sides are congruent. Side angle, side, those are the two that we can use. And anything else that we have two angle, right? Angle, side, or side, angle, and HL. HL cannot be used here because we doesn't say that any of the angle are right angle, so cannot be HL. So now we have only side, and side angle, side left over. So let's see, can we find one angle that are congruent? And some people say that is these two angles are congruent? No, we have to prove those two angles are congruent. So looking at the picture, what else we can find congruent? I hope you say that DF is congruent with DF. DF is congruent with DF. Well, the two triangles are sharing the same side here. So that is reflexive properties. And that is another side. DF is congruent with DF. Can prove the two triangles are congruent. Triangle EFD is congruent with GFD. Why? Why these two triangles are congruent? Right, we're just reading here, side. Okay, if you want to read the picture, that's even better. The two sides are congruent. FD is congruent with DG, and EF is congruent with SG, and DF congruent with DF. So it's side. So why we have to prove those two triangles are congruent? In order to say that those two angles are congruent. So now we can say that angle EDF is congruent with angle GDF. We finished proving the triangles are congruent. The corresponding part, which is the corresponding angle, you see these two angles are corresponding angle of the two congruent triangle. We prove that by the two triangles are congruent by side. So now we can use CPCTC, which is why CPCTC here, to say the corresponding part of congruent triangles are congruent. Now we can prove the proof on the very bottom. You just copy. DF is the angle bisector of angle EDG. And what is the reason? Step by step, why we want to prove these two angles are congruent, because we need to say that DF is the angle bisector of the angle EDG, because angle bisector bisect the angle in two equal parts. Okay, so the last sentences here for the reason is definitely is the definition of angle bisector. So angle bisector bisect the angle in two equal parts. So that is how to use CPC. So remember, CPC must be used after you prove the triangles are congruent first. Okay, that's it for today. Have a wonderful day.